Hello, everybody. Wolfgang here. Today is Monday, April the 14th, and it was a nice day. I get up about quarter to six, somewhere around there. But I turn the news on, our local news, find out what the traffic's about and the weather, and I had to do a double take because it said it was like 62 this morning. And I looked at it and I was like, wait a minute, no, it can't be. That's what it's going to be today. But no, it was 62 degrees this morning. I was like, cool. Now tomorrow morning it's going to be 44. But it was nice. But it decided to wait for thunderstorms at 3 o'clock. We get off work at 3:30, and it never fails. We got storms coming. It waits till 3:30, and then it starts freaking raining. So it was a fun ride home on the highway. At least people were kind of going slow. But I hope everybody had a good Monday. I don't know if I like Mondays or not.
I don't.
And my wife just said she don't. But yeah, it wasn't bad. Same old crap at work. That doesn't change. Apparently, where I work, the company now has an apparel store. You can buy their merchandise online. And I'm thinking, who's going to buy a work company shirt that doesn't work there? I don't know. But they got jackets and like polo shirts and T-shirts. Well, our supervisor was walking around, came up to me, and I cannot stand this guy. Hey, today's the last day for their sale on their merchandise. And I was like, why would I want to work for a company and then just give my money right back to them? And some people are, you're not a team player, Wolf. Bullshit, I'm a team player. But not for this company. This company, half the people in there, I think, came from the government. But anyway, and it sucks too. It sucks that I like what I do. It's just the atmosphere, it's getting toxic. Put it that way. It sucks that you shouldn't get up in the morning and be like, damn, I gotta go to fucking work. That's no way to live. There's no way to work. And then you go to work and you're not happy while you're there. And you might even have a worse day and come home and be miserable and make your spouse miserable or take it out on the cat or the dog. No, I do not do that. But there's people out there that do that. But I'm not one of them. Anyway, today's spam report is about the Real ID, which if you're a traveler, hopefully people are paying attention to this. It says that, let me share it. The Real ID deadline is just weeks away. Here's what travelers need to know. Travelers, take note. The federal government says it will start enforcing Real ID requirements at U.S. airports starting May the 7th. For real this time. I like how they did that. Yeah, because they started this quite a few years ago. That means travelers will need a real ID, compliant license, or other accepted form of identification like a passport to get through security before a domestic U.S. flight. The Transportation Security Administration said 81% of people approaching airport checkpoints already have real ID compliant identification, though it varies by state. Okay, I didn't know that. Federal and state officials in recent weeks have urged travelers to make appointments at motor vehicle departments to update licenses and other ID cards before the deadline, though availability has become scarce. Make your appointments now as quick as possible, John Isga, I don't know, the Transportation Security Administration's Federal Security Director for New York City area airports, said at a news conference at LaGuardia Airport earlier this month. I know I said that wrong. We certainly don't want to hold up anyone without real ID at the checkpoint. Signs reminding travelers at U.S. Reports to apply for real ID have been up for years, though the deadline has been pushed back repeatedly. A TSA officer this week was handing out flyers to travelers with a QR code for real ID information at LaGuardia. Sorry, I didn't say it the first time. LaGuardia Airport. Airlines have also been reminding travelers of the new requirements through customer emails and other channels. Frontier Airlines, that's the one we flew, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I know Frontier Airlines has a gray banner running along its website informing travelers of the real ID requirement. Yeah, we tripped on Frontier because all of their airplanes have some kind of animal on it. It's either a raccoon or, look, I can't remember. I think ours was a raccoon. Anyway, I'm getting off. A real ID is an identification card, like a driver's license or state-issued ID, that is compliant with federal rules initiated in the wake of the September 11, 2001 terror attacks. Those hijackers were using state IDs and driver's license, some of which were obtained fraudulently. In 2005, Congress passed the Real ID Act, allowing the federal government to set standards for state IDs. It was originally supposed to go into effect in 2008, but had been repeatedly postponed, including during the pandemic. The ID cards have a gold or black star, or in California, a yellow bear on the top right. If the card does not have one of these markings, it's not a real ID compliant and won't be accepted as proof of identity in order to board commercial aircraft, the Department of Security says. Travelers 18 or over need the ID or another form of accepted ID for U.S. domestic flights. If you can't get the real ID by May 7th, there are options. The TSA says you can use a U.S. passport, a permanent resident card, also known as a green card, or a trusted traveler ID, like a global entry card. Global, okay, I've never heard of the global entry card. Can I use the real ID to travel internationally? No. But you can opt for an enhanced ID that is also Real ID compliant, which you can use to travel to Mexico and Canada. Is the deadline real? The TSA says that the deadline is legitimate and that travelers without a Real ID or other accepted document could experience delays when going through security because it will take longer to verify your identity. Their identity. They want to make sure you know who you are. They could face additional screening and the possibility of not being permitted into the security checkpoint, the TSA said in a news release on Friday. The agency recommends travelers arrive at least 3 hours before domestic flights if they don't have a real ID or alternative. Identify verification is a linchpin in security, and we will make sure that passengers are verified as being who they say they are before they can go beyond the checkpoint, said a spokesperson, Carter Laxton. Well, there you go. I am not complying. I don't travel. If I flew all the time, business, if that would be different. Or if if you fly a lot out of country, you already have a passport. But as when I how old is my drive? I think I still have 2 years on my driver's license. And I don't know when I go to renew if they're going to say, well, you got to get this. I'm going to, I don't want to. The government's in our shit enough. And how often, I mean, I know, I get it. They want, we got terrorists here. I know that. I get that. But I don't know. I think this is just another overreach on the government. Another group of people I don't like. Did I say that out loud? Sorry, I had dust on my screen. But anyway, we know the roaming prepper travels a lot. But like I said, I don't. The last time the wife and I had to fly is when we had to fly out to California because her dad was passing away. And that's been over 12 years, 13 years, something like that. But we did Frontier Airline because they were the low-cost airline, and we had no problem. So anyway, so that's the information on the Real ID, and it's next month. So that's all I got. This is Wolfbang. Blessed be, stay safe, and I'll bullshit with y'all later. Bye.